Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks. This time we've got the pleasure of watching Jacione playing his RU-251 SpahPanzer, the Tier 8 German, nearly said American light tank there. And that's because the Jacione is from the North American server. So, coming at you from .com here. I haven't put too many RU-251 SpahPanzer games up on my YouTube channel. Probably because I suck in it for some reason. Don't know why that is. I seem to have massive games in tanks such as the M41 Walker Bulldog. I even had a couple of big games in the T49 by now. But I just can't seem to nail the RU-251 SpahPanzer. Some interesting facts about this tank that you guys might be interested in. It is very fast. This is a highly mobile light tank. It also has a rather nice punchy 90mm, I believe, yes, with 240 alpha damage on its standard ammunition, with a healthy 190mm of penetration, which allows Jacione to put some pressure on one of the most dangerous players on the enemy team, in probably their most dangerous tank, the Object 704. Now he tracks the Object 704, forcing him to use his repair kit, and that Object 704 seems to really want to kill him. But fortunately, there's an FCM-50T that shoots the Object 704 in the side, and he has to cower back down the slope. And a good thing too, if it stayed up there, he was going to get absolutely wrecked. Another interesting thing about the SpahPanzer is that it gets pretty terrible gun depression over the front of the tank. But when you turn your gun over the side like this, its gun depression is very impressive indeed. So if you're engaging a SpahPanzer, keep that in mind, that over the front, he can't shoot the AMX 1390. He has to turn his tank to the side to be able to engage him. You can use this to your advantage, because that means that SpahPanzers often come around the corner at this kind of an angle. And so you can shoot the front of their tank, which is wafer thin, more often than not. Jacione puts a great shot there into the Tier 7 American heavy tank, the T29. He really doesn't want to fight with his opposite number. That AMX 1390 has an autoloader. That's a nightmare for the SpahPanzer. The AMX 1390 will rip apart other Tier 8 light tanks very quickly indeed. One of the reasons why the AMX 1390 is just so popular in Tier 8 tank companies, and why you see kind of SpahPanzers a lot less than, for example, a T54 lightweight, although you often see one SpahPanzer in a light tank setup. Jacione misses the side of the T32 there, a shame, as he takes a big hit from him, and he seems to be hunting this T32 down. He's trying to apply a lot of pressure to the side. I'm not sure if that's the right play. He goes for it again anyway, and takes a huge hit there. 2 in a row from the 105mm gun, and he's missing all over the place. This is a terrible engagement for him. And the strong turret armor of the T32, even from the side, means that it's hard for him to penetrate. Luckily, however, he manages to go through the side of the SD1's turret there, and this T32 is still looking at him. Can he find the kill? No! It just skims over the top, but it doesn't matter anyway, as Clemming in the Tiger 2 on his team finishes him off. So far you might be thinking, well, this is an okay gameplay so far. It's been fairly mediocre though. He's lost a lot of his hit points and only done 1,400 damage with them. Now 1,400 damage would not be a disaster of a game in a Tier 8 light tank, but in this kind of a matchup, which is absolutely beautiful for the SpahPanzer, he's against quite a few Tier 7 tanks, although most of them are our artillery, lots of juicy Tier 8s, and just a couple of Tier 9s. And remember that your light tanks get matched up as if they were a medium tank of 1 tier higher. So for example, the SpahPanzer gets matched up as if it was an E50. And it's the same for the others. The AMX 1390 and the T49, they get more brutal matchmaking, which means that they don't get to see Tier 6 tanks. It'd be hilarious if they did. Unless, of course, they're light tanks. and they get to meet tier 9s on average and a lot of tier 10s. Now his pathway was blocked by Rex, and the SpahPanzer, not being the heaviest tank, couldn't push them out the way. But now he has snuck up behind the Object 704. Great move there, taking out one of the most dangerous players on the enemy team who had already secured 3 kills. He's been ambushed by that 1390 that we were talking about earlier. Puts 2 hits into his side. Luckily, he didn't die to the second. He comes out, pops another shot into the 1390, leaving him on just 12 hit points. And thanks to the great rate of fire of the SpahPanzer, he takes a chance and puts one in. And he had to do that quickly, because that SD-1 could have made his way over, or even one of the 3 artillery on the enemy team could have splashed him for his remaining 66 hit points. Now he rushes to the aid of this FCM-50T, who's under a lot of pressure here from the tier 9 Soviet heavy tank. But thankfully, the tier 9 Soviet heavy tank is not interested in dealing with the tier 8 light tank shooting his backside, and needs to focus down the FCM-50T. And that gives the RU-251 SpahPanzer a great opportunity to finish off the SD-1. Jacione picks up his 3rd kill. This tank really has monstrous DPM if it's allowed to freely unload. And because it's not an autoloader, it doesn't have those awkward situations where it's stuck needing to reload. And it's, again, not a T-49. The T-49, if it chooses to use that 152mm, really invests all of its eggs in one basket, so to say. Jacione misses the side of the AMX-12T. He's got to be careful here. If that manages to find him, he's going to have to dodge a lot of bullets to be able to survive. One thing I should note here is he's firing high explosive ammunition, which is very unique on the SpahPanzer. It has decent penetration, 102mm of penetration, and 320 alpha damage. And when you're engaging an AMX-12T and artillery, then this 90mm high explosive, high penetration ammunition comes in very handy. So now Jacione finds himself against 5 enemy tanks alone. So, may the contention for the Kolobanov's medal begin. One of the most sought after medals in World of Tanks. Luckily for him though, he is playing against 3 artillery. But, considering how low his hit points are, that's still not going to be an easy task for a light tank to pick them apart. He's sneaking into base. He knocked down a tree there. Kind of gives away his position if the artillery are watching out. Knocks down another tree. Come on, Jacione, you've got to drive better than that. But he finds the M4043 and finishes him off with the first shot. He loads another high explosive shell. He has to hunt down 2 Crusader SPs. He finds the first. It doesn't penetrate the tank and only does 79. He's now got 271 hit points. And he finishes him off with the 320 alpha damage on the high explosive rounds. He's got to do something quick here. The AMX-12T is very likely to be rushing back, and so he applies some pressure, but shoots the building. The Crusader SP decides to push his advantage and go forwards, thinking that he's still reloading. Thankfully, Jacione puts a good shot into him, not rolling quite high enough, but the Crusader SP is forced to reload. And it doesn't matter how fast that tank goes backwards, he was unable to get away in time. Now it is completely on. The AMX-12T is very likely to be rushing back. And there he is! Jacione puts a good shot into the turret, rolling for 321 with his high explosive ammunition. That was a 50-50 kill, almost exactly a 50-50 kill, whether he was going to roll high enough with the HE. If he penetrates, of course, if it hit his tracks, then he might not have been able to penetrate the tank, and then he would have rolled for less. So now Jacione is 1 versus 1 against a T-34 on the enemy team, of which, when he was last spotted, had 1,235 hit points. He's going to have to penetrate him a lot of times, but thankfully he's still got 8 rounds remaining. So as long as he hits most of those into the enemy T-34, he should be alright. Now the T-34 on the enemy team has already secured 2 kills. So he's obviously having a pretty good game so far, but not as good as Jacione, who's picked up 7. We see him knock down a building. Jacione picks up on this. The T-34 spots him, however. He's holding his ground. Oh my word, he tracks the T-34 up in the air. Does he have a repair kit? He doesn't! And that allows Jacione to leave the T-34 up in the air, I believe with a Canadian flag? Yes, a Canadian flag on the side of his tank. That poor, poor guy. What are you doing? Don't shoot his tracks! No! He's let him go! Oh, the T-34 doesn't manage to get him. And Jacione puts one right through the side of the T-34's turret. Outmaneuvers him. And outplays the Tier 8 American heavy tank. So what a fantastic game here for Jacione in his RU-251 SpahPanzer. This Tier 8 German light tank really had the flexibility it needed to put itself in every situation. And when in the hands of a skillful player such as Jacione, it's able to completely dominate. Jacione really used his ammunition almost perfectly in this game. He took a healthy amount of high explosive, high penetration rounds, which enabled him to one-shot certain tanks that otherwise would have been able to give him a lot of trouble. The only thing I wasn't too sure on was the fact that Jacione tried to shoot the T-34 in the hull rather in the tracks at the end, allowing him to run free, and really that T-34 should have been able to kill him there. But he was starting to run very low on ammunition, so maybe he was worried about running out and not being able to take down the gigantic T-34. Jacione, thank you so much for this gameplay. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it was a pleasure to finally have a good RU-251 SpahPanzer game on the channel, and I'm definitely going to get back into this tank and try and finally pick up my ace. Let's just take a very quick look at the post-game stats. So this was an absolutely huge game. High caliber medal, the Kolobanov's medal, the one that everyone wants. The Pascucci's medal for destroying 3 enemy artillery in a single battle, and a Radley-Walters for picking up that 8th kill. His 5,600 damage gave him a whopping 1,825 base experience points. And even though he had to fire some heat at the end of the game, he still got over 31,000 credits profit. And in this just under 11-minute game, Jacione traveled nearly 5 kilometers, showing you the mobility of the Tier 8 German light tank. So Jacione, thank you so much for sending me this replay. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and hopefully you guys out there did as well. If you did, please consider giving this video a like down below. It really helps the channel out. And if you want to see a tank preview video that I did on the RU-251 SpahPanzer, then simply click up here and you can go through to find out everything about this vehicle. And let me know in the comments down below what you think about the SpahPanzer. Do you think it's one of the most competitive Tier 8 light tanks? Or do you have one? Maybe you've stopped playing it and you prefer, say, a T-54 lightweight. Let me know what you guys think. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.